Hi. So I'm feeling a little bit triggered right now by the people who keep telling me, just just let go. Everything's perfect. Everything's great. It's like, on the one hand, I know that with a capital K because I felt it. Because when I was 23 in the desert in Jordan under a full moon, I fell backwards into infinity. You know, I've tried hard not to chase that because I instinctively know it's not something to chase. It's not something to try to recapture. There's no recapturing anything. There's only now. Yeah, and I get that. I got it on a very deep level at that moment. But I think a part of me still is chasing it or still is wanting it. It's hard not to. It's God, it was the most real moment of my life. And it was so far beyond bliss. There's no human. There's nothing within the human. And that was the thing too. Like it was so expansive that exponentially universe-sized expansion, that being crammed back into a human body was incredibly painful, and yet somehow okay also, because that's just how things are going, and I understood that too at the time, even though parts of me still don't like it, parts of me still want to, um parts of me still want to just they want that. They want that. They're not I'm not there's no danger of me killing myself. It's not on the table whatsoever. Um, but there's a sense that, death is gonna be an amazing experience, release. And, when people say die before you die, I guess that's what I sort of picture. Um, and, that's been 21 years ago. And I instinctively, I knew 20 years ago that this isn't something that I'm going to be able to even consider. Because the thing is, once you know it's there, you can't accidentally fall into it again because you're like, oh, is it? Anytime you feel like you're getting close. That's my cat, Isabella, by the way, who's making those noises. Um, yeah, that, and even now, when I can start to feel, I feel like I'm starting to get into an expansive state. There's a thought: is this it? And because the memory is so compelling, it can, yeah, it's almost kind of an impediment. I'm not mad about it. Even experiencing it once, oh my god, like that's enough. It's enough for a lifetime. um, and so yeah, I guess there are different parts of me. There's some that are like, man, it's all good no matter what, and there's parts that like, but I want it, I want it, I want it. It was so good. And yeah, I guess there's no point denying that. Or why wouldn't you want that? It's the peace that passes all understanding, an immensity of perfection that, yeah, there's nothing close in ordinary human experience, at least not in my experience. Um, so so yeah, the people who say, just let go, everything's perfect, everything's fine. part of me is like, do you really know that? Are you speaking from the experience of that? Are you fooling yourself maybe? Because being so kind of flippant about it in a way doesn't feel authentic. I would never say to someone, especially someone struggling, just let go, everything's perfect. Like, because I know what the struggle is like. And, if they could just let go, they would. So, it's almost like telling somebody who's depressed, be happy. Yay, be happy. It's like, yeah, fuck off. That's not helpful. Um, okay, so yeah, that comes to the actual point, 5 minutes into the video. So what is preventing me from letting go? What stops it? I mean, part of it might be that memory of the experience I had 21 years ago. Kind of the ego can take that, that wonderful, beautiful, pure thing and turn it around to its own ends and sort of shove it in my face right when I might be getting close to getting away from the ego. Because seriously, in that state, the idea of an ego, the idea of a self, um, God, it's such a tiny, tiny thing, tiny little enclosed thing. Another thing is, well, in that state, for sure, I couldn't function. I mean, there was no body, there was no location, there was um, no awareness of any particular thing. It was like you could put your awareness on stars, on air molecules, on anything. Or I didn't put the awareness anyway, the awareness traveled. There wasn't no I doing anything. So in that particular state, I don't think my cat Mateo is digging on my meditation cushion. Um, in that state, I couldn't. There's no way I would be able to function. Um, as a human being, unless there's something I just don't know, and like it might be possible in that state to. I like the softer lighting. Um, yeah, staring at my face is interesting. It's something that maybe 2 years ago would have been so much harder. Um, Now it's more like, "This is my face, take it or leave it." And, it's not really my face, it's not anybody's face, it's just it is what it is, and, you know, more and more there's less judgment that I have about anybody's face. I mean, judge a face, what the fuck? Like, it's a face. Like, who cares? I mean, it's just I mean, the idea is absurd. And there's certainly a lot of conditioning around it. Around, you know what, you're supposed to be symmetrical. You're supposed to have this kind of nose. You're supposed to have, like from birth. You're kind of even the Pixar shows now are like exaggerated versions of beauty ideals. And so yeah, it's really in the soup that we swim in, the cultural soup. And it's a pity because man, it couldn't matter less. And just picking arbitrarily, this is what beauty is. Maybe, maybe there's some evolutionary uh, mechanism for certain things like symmetry or whatever, but like who fucking cares? I'm not trying to mate with anybody right now. I'm just talking about non-duality and shit. Like, you know, yeah, anyway, off on a tangent. Um, and yet I still feel compelled to soften the lighting a little bit when I'm making this video because it's a little more flattering. Why not? Um, so yeah, why can't I just let go? Why not just take the advice? So yeah, so first of all, that rubs me the wrong way. I don't like the flippancy with which you talk about something that's so intimate and so sacred. And maybe they say, well, that's the point. Like, just you know, you have all these things between judging faces and all the other nonsense that's in your mind. Just let go of it. Lightly let go, and everything's. Um, now my cats are play fighting. So yeah, and yeah, and then also I'm wondering, do they really know? Have they really experienced it, or are they? Is this another mind trick? You know, that they've like, oh, I've let go and everything's fine, so you let go too and be just like me. Um, you know, they've heard it, they've um, kind of metabolized it intellectually. They've even sort of think that they've done it, and sort of exhorting other people to do it is a way to elevate themselves. Um, which I mean, at the end of the day, that's fine. It's nothing personal. It's doesn't matter really. I mean, but and who knows? Maybe once I've crossed fully to the other side, um, but the good non-dual teachers I've interacted with or watched, they're not that flippant. They know that it's not easy. Um, so, okay, back to the question. Why is it not easy specifically for me? Because that's all that I can do anything about. Yeah, I guess it's just this there's feelings anchored in my body, my guts, my solar plexus, my heart, my throat. I can kind of feel their heaviness when I start to let go. And I guess the real problem there isn't the heaviness, the real problem is the thought, "Oh, I can't open up with all this heaviness here." And it's much lighter than it used to be, by the way. I mean, I've processed so much that it's not so much of an intimidating. I mean, I've made enough visible, I've processed enough that what's left seems like I can actually work with it. It's not just infinite, but it is deep. And maybe that's another thought. It's deep. Maybe, you know, I wonder sometimes if there's some cheat code where I don't have to sit with this for hours and days and months. There is really a letting go you can do and just let it all go at once. I wonder if that's because in a sense I did that, but you know, like Angelo and others say, even if you have the awakening and there's a honeymoon period, it always comes back to the shadow work. Because as long as the shadow is still there, it can keep coming up. Like yesterday, my husband was pouring. Well, he coated the new potatoes with olive oil and salt, pepper, and stuff. Moved them to the baking sheet, and then he was pouring the leftover oil onto the potatoes. And for some reason, this triggered me. It's like you don't need to add more. You just need to coat the potatoes. You're just adding more work that needs to be done by adding more oil. It's just going to seep through the paper. It doesn't do anything useful. Um, I don't know why. I guess I was made fun of as a kid because I kind of lacked common sense sometimes. So when people in my family do something that to me just seems to lack all common sense, I feel panicked. I feel like a part of me wants to take the trauma that I have and push it onto somebody else. Of course, that's very subconscious, but I think a lot of the worthlessness that I felt is just this being made fun of or being denigrated by friends or family for essentially being an idiot, especially since I was a gifted child, so a lot of my identity was bound up in being smart. So if I'm not even smart, then what am I? I'm nothing. I've got no redeeming qualities. I'm useless. I can be outcast. I can be alone forever. And just to care to say, I think I can sometimes feel these things more intensely now that more has opened up. So it can feel like going backward. You can feel like, oh man, I'm even more reactive than I was before. But at the same time, I can catch the reactivity. I can feel the reactivity, and I can sort of stop it from going to the next level, which is self hatred, which is, oh, why did I do that? I'm such an awful person. Nothing's ever going to change. Um, or I can see that. I can see all of that coming, and just kind of let it keep going and not hook into it so much, and just stay with that reactivity. And I know it's something such a small thing, and there's another part of me that's like, why do you get such upset over such small things? And that's I guess that's inner critic part, inner judge part. Um, and why do you still have an inner judge part? You've been doing this for 2.5 years. No, I guess about two, has it been? Yeah, about 2 years now. So I try to kind of reel that, and not, I mean, I don't know, reel it in or let it go, whatever it means to like not give it too much purchase. Just like see that too. That's part of the activity. That's part of the pile of old stuff that I can feel it right now in my midline, especially my gut. Um, yeah, maybe I'm not worthy of letting go. Maybe, well, you know what the conditioning is saying. Maybe I don't even know what that means though. But just a sense that I can't do anything good. I can't be happy. I can't be free, um, because that old worthlessness programming is still, it's still operating to some extent. And again, I'm trying not to judge myself for still having that. Trying to keep it at, one arrow at a time. No reason to add more arrows on top of it. Just stick with the reactivity. Do I need to work through all the reactivity or transmute all the reactivity before I can let go? I guess that's the thought. Another, I mean, a thought that stops me from letting go. Or I'm not going to know how to do it right. I'm not going to let go right. I'm not going to let go into the right things. Something's always going to be snagging. Something's always going to be pulling. And so it's never going to quite be authentic, genuine, good, or right. It's heavy stuff. And it's kind of embarrassing too. That's part of I mean, that's part of why I'm doing it on video because, saying it out loud to not probably no audience at all right now, but potential audience. It is public. It's a kind of medium, not too difficult, not too easy, kind of a medium way to be vulnerable. And 'cause even my therapist, I'm sometimes I'm like, she's gonna get exasperated with me if I'm fully honest about, all the way honest about my doubts, my sort of continuing hooks of insecurity that I know are just tiresome. They're just tiresome and they're useless. And there I go judging. Um, but a part of me understands that insecurity is tiresome and useless. It's just silliness. It's just, but it's born from real pain, from real injury at very tender age. So even if I don't expect anyone else to deal with it or to because no one else's responsibility but mine at the end of the day. And a therapist can be helpful, friend can be helpful, but when it feels endless, these last remnants of insecurity or worthlessness, I don't want to burden anybody with it over and over and over because I know it's tiresome. I know it's useless. It does deserve compassion. It deserves to be honored. And there's no one but me who can do that. And I think talking through it in this semi public forum might help me, might help somebody else who's in a similar situation. These just can just be so sticky, even when you know better. So I think I'm going to spend some time with these parts. And yeah, that's it for now.